Go hit me.
It's never gonna be perfect.
I'm prepared today, y'all. I'm prepared today.
Yeah,
We
5
hit
weeks
record. 5 weeks in, baby. 5 weeks. Y'all, man, welcome back. Episode 5 of the TurnDown podcast. It's your boy, fresh off of the stomach bug, Mr. Kendrick Bowser.
fresh off the toilet.
Miles had the audacity to say, "Handle your shit, brother."
Hey,
Dick.
It was so funny, man.
Yeah, don't let. Okay, like you weren't sitting there kikiing in the car with me. All right,
I was laughing. I said it.
Of course, y'all were laughing, bro, because I'm
You
sitting
were the
here
one who said
having.
it.
Yeah, Miles was saying it. He thought he was funny.
It was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny. No, I didn't
All right,
think.
well,
not the situation.
I was going through some stuff. All right, man.
Situation was a
I was
little
going
funny.
through some shit. Situation ain't funny, bro. Situation ain't funny. All right, you sit there on your knees trying to throw up, and you got all this going on at the same time. Let's see how much you laugh. Let's see how much you laugh, man. It's all good.
I was going through some shit. All right.
It's all good, bro. It's all good. Well, look, I'm back. All right, I'm back. I've been through the fire. Okay, here I am. God damn. Cut me a break, man. Anyway. Yeah, so for everybody's listening, yeah, I had a stomach bug. All right. Cat's out the bag. Okay. I had to handle my business.
I mean, People magazine. Kendrick Bowser said he had a stomach bug. Is his career over?
Is he no longer a part of the TurnDown?
Where does the TurnDown podcast go from here? Amidst this controversy.
Dark
I feel
times
like I'm
for the TurnDown podcast.
I'm watching it. I'm looking at a Daily Inquirer cover. Oh my god, dog. But yeah, that happened. That was terrible. And PSA to anybody that lives in the Millersville area, man, just for at least the next month, stay away from Sprouts desserts.
We are going to get sued by Sprouts, Kendrick. Stop.
I don't care, man.
Yeah, I do.
Care, I had
I
Sprouts.
need to get sued by Sprouts.
What's wrong? What's Sprouts gonna say, man? What is this? Defamation of character? What is this? What am I doing right now?
Something along those lines. Let's just not get sued by Sprouts. We don't have that type of money.
Okay, stay away from a Whole Foods knockoff in the Millersville area.
That's even worse.
There's no way to tie it to me.
Yes, there is. You literally say your name in the beginning. What are you talking about?
I say their name. Okay, I'm not
say
talking
your
about
name.
Sprouts.
Yeah,
My name. I'm not talking about Sprouts. Listen, y'all know what I'm talking about. Just stay away from the dessert section, please. Okay, I don't want anything happening to anybody. I went through it. My mother went through it. I don't know. It's not Sprouts. I don't know what store I'm talking about. It's just some store in that area. Just stay away from their stuff, man. Just stay away from their desserts. Okay, y'all. Anyway, on to the topic at hand, because Miles thinks we about to get sued by Sprouts.
It was a good run while it lasted.
5 episodes in.
5 episodes in. Today, man, this is gonna be some serious stuff we talking about, man. This is touching on a lot of the stuff that's been going on with the Asian community. I think it's we're a podcast with 2 black men, 1 Asian American man,
quarter,
but hey, Asian American,
still proud of it, yeah.
Still proud, you know what I'm saying?
I guess to because I wanted to say this, like I've talked about it before and how proud I am of my Asian heritage. But I also, like, I won't ever pretend, and certainly not on this podcast, ever pretend that, like, I personally face discrimination. I look white. I mostly am white. And so I'm not affected by it personally. Like, you know, I won't be targeted. But it does, you know, it's stuff that does hurt me from a personal standpoint. And it's just the things that have been happening have just been disgusting and really crazy.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, brother. And I mean, I feel like you don't even have to be Asian at all to kind of just look at some of this crap that's going on and just be like, you know, because I mean, Miles, we're black, So like you
Yes.
already know. I think this is, and we're gonna touch on this. We have a lot that we got to touch on.
Yeah.
I think in particular, the first thing that I've noticed that let's before we get to the actual incidents, let's just start with I think the reaction to them, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like after everything happens, grief, anger, the posts, the hashtags, right? We see that. Cool.
All the time.
We started hearing cries out to the black community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is where I had a big problem.
Yeah.
No matter what happened, and granted, this is coming from somebody that feels terrible about what happened to the Asian community. I definitely think that a lot of this discrimination all of it is unwarranted. It's disgusting. So I'm not somebody that's like not, indifferent about it. But it was the specific call to the black community from a lot of Asians personally that I know, and then also celebrities or whoever, people are taking advice from nowadays that was saying, hey, we were there for you during George Floyd. Where are you guys for us during Atlanta?
And I think, yeah. Because I saw for me, a similar thing was it was a tweet from the New York Times about an article that said, what can black people do to help the Asian community? And I think where the problem stems from is that's that why are you coming to us? Why are we supposed to be the people that are holding everything back? This is one, racism in this country, no matter how it's rears its head, is a white supremacy issue because of the history of this country. Even stuff like, oh, I've seen people be like, oh, well, black people, are responsible for a lot of anti-Asian hate crimes. But when you look at, and one that is based on a fake police statistic from the 1980s from one police department, that was very well known for fabricating statistics to make things look bad. Yeah. But people tend to point to that statistic specifically and use it to say that black people are the reason that there's a lot of anti-Asian hate. And while I'm not saying that there is no anti-Asian racism propagated by the black community, what I'm saying is that is not what the root of the issue is. The root of the issue is not black people. It's actually white supremacy and the model minority myth. Because it's a tactic made by white supremacists to divide and conquer people of color and say, well, look, here's these people over here, this other group of people, we think they're better than you. We're going to treat them better than you. So now you're going to look at them with contempt and not actually look at the root of the problems, which is me.
Right. Right.
And that exists among a lot of racial divides, especially amongst people of color. And it's a very interesting thing that when you really look into it, it's like it all goes back to divide and conquer.
That's it.
Because realistically, if every person of color said, all right, you know what, we're fighting white supremacy together as people of color, we're fighting white supremacy. White supremacy doesn't stand a chance. The issue is that they take these things and say, we're going to prop one of you guys up. Same thing happened on plantations, house slaves and field slaves, light skin versus dark skin.
Bag test. Yeah, paper bag test. Yeah.
All, and that it's a systemic thing that's been happening in a lot of places everywhere. So I think that's one of those important things to realize with that when that happens is that it all ties back to white supremacy. Not to say, oh, black people who are anti-Asian should be blamed for their specific, but it's not a black issue, so to speak. Like, oh, black people as a whole hate Asian people or whatever. And then the reverse also happens where now Asians are led to believe, in a lot of cases where Asians are led to believe that they are superior to black people. And that's where you had stuff like the LA riots, However, again, you should not use those actions to say this group of people feels this way about me, or, or vice versa, all that stuff. However, I do find issue with the New York Times going and tweeting, hey, black people, you should help. We're still not done fighting our fight. And here's the thing, we absolutely will help. And that's not to say that we won't help. We absolutely will help. We want to. But the thing is, it's one, a lot of the times we already are doing stuff. It's just not televised.
Yeah.
And I think
it's tough, man, because when you mention that, And I think before we dive in, it's like also people need to understand a little bit of the background about the situation, right? You're talking about if we just want to divide it and we just want to look at Asians and African Americans, just those two minorities alone, because the Hispanics are a totally different discussion. That's grievances, a whole nother topic. Strictly Hispanics and African Americans. The main divide, in my opinion, amongst a lot of people,
Asians and
Asians. Did I say Hispanics? I'm sorry. Asians and African Americans. My apologies. The main problems that you see, and this is, and I think a lot of people need to take the time to realize this. You go to the black communities, right? And this is not an Asian problem. This is a white supremacy problem that Miles was talking about. You go to the black communities, laundromats are not owned by black people. Carryouts are not at all owned by black people. A lot of other stores, places where you can make profit off of owning land, are not owned by black people.
Hair salons.
In 99 hair salons, nail shops, not owned by black people. In 99% African American occupied neighborhoods. That's not an Asian thing. The Asians didn't come in that territory and say, listen, we're just going to take it for us. No. Now, who restricted one group of people and allowed another group of people to do that? That's a different question. That's the white supremacy problem. So that's them now, as Miles said, pitting us against each other. Okay, black people redlining. You're not going to be able to get mortgages. You're not going to be able to go out and get businesses. Okay, some black people could not get mortgage approvals up until the 90s, right? Like in the late 80s. That was a true thing. So we'll let the Asians do it. And then you really don't expect a group of people that are oppressed for that long and that nature, when they see the Asians that are coming in and running things, you don't think that those people, of course they're not knowing, they're unknowing of the principles and how that happened. It's 1995, it's LA riots. How am I going to understand all of this? Not everyone understood it. Of course they're going to just be mad at the Asians. It's not, and it's not good. I'm not saying that's right, but I'm saying you can't be, if you look at it objectively and look at all factors, you would say, okay, this was set up by the white man. This was something that was unavoidable, because at the end of the day, you're pitting two parties against each other and they're both unknowing of what's going on. They don't know what's going on right now. So now it's at a position where, and this ticks me off a little bit, because I feel like Miles said with the New York Times article, black people, in my opinion, whether it be Asian situations, whether it be LGBTQ situations, any minority that's starting to get press or that needs support, an election, why are we're always looked at as like that swing vote? Like, we need your support. Y'all got to get on board. If y'all don't get on board, it's not going to work, right? Without black people, Biden had no chance of winning that election, period. Stacey Abrams went out and pioneered that election for him in Georgia. Shout out to Stacey. She's a legend. But without her and without the power of black women and men all across the nation, homeboy had no chance. So I don't know. I think it's so many layers to it, but I think people just need to understand at the basis of this black and Asian thing. It's not black versus Asian. It's what the white man did to the blacks and Asians. And where that division comes from. Because when you go into, I'm telling you, growing up in DC, growing up in Baltimore, you can grow up anywhere, grow up in LA, go to Compton, go to Watts, go to any of those places. Those carryouts, those laundromats, no, it's not me being racist and saying, oh, all Asians own laundromats. Those are the jokes that people used to make back in the day. Oh, they own laundromats, right? And in reality, that's not a joke, that's a compliment. You're complimenting them because they're business owners. And it's a majority thing. So yes, you do see a lot of them owning laundromats, just like you may see a lot of Indian people who may come over and may go out and get a gas station or a 7-Eleven. It's a compliment. They're business owners. That's something that idiots like me when I was younger would laugh at, because we don't understand how essential that is.
Yeah.
It's like these people truly own businesses
and that's
in
these
areas.
Yeah, that's another separate issue in the black community is that whole idea of entrepreneurship and collective. Another thing is collective collective responsibility and all that stuff. How a lot of when a lot of Asian communities that come over, how they have like pots of money that get used for one business for a certain amount of time, then another business, and it's all circulating and they all come up together. And that's how you have the phenomenon of like crazy rich Asians, quote unquote, and all that stuff that we were never allowed to have coming up. Systemically, we were barred from from doing that in different ways. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing. That's absolutely a great thing for the Asian community. But we were never allowed to have that. So it's easy to be like, oh, like, oh, well, they do this better than us, when we were never given the opportunity to do that. And at every turn, even when we did do it, when you look at Black Wall Street, look how that ended.
It was torn down. It was torn down. And also Black Wall Street, that sadly, as much as it pains me to say, I love what it stood for. I love what it did for us. It was an outlier. That was an outlier. You're talking about one area in Tulsa. That's such an outlier. And it sucks that that's the case.
And you also have to remember, like, how early that was. It might have just been the beginning of something, but because it was snuffed so quick, like nobody else is going to try. Nobody else is going to try and do it, because it's like, well, if this is what happens when we try to, come up and do our own stuff.
Yeah.
So what we were talking about there was very relevant to that kind of the myth that we were talking about of the model minority, right? And that also goes with grades, especially, I think, because there's that whole stereotype, right? If we're talking stereotypes, in that Asians are smarter, quote unquote, like always, like smarter and like in their genes and things like that. They're a large population in college, which is still true. Asians are, it's a good amount of time. So it's a lot of white people. And then you have a lot of Asians and a lot of Indian.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of an interesting thing that, goes into that and is used against, like you were saying, to pit races against each other. I'm kind of just repeating things, but elaborating a little bit. So, when people see this and like the stereotype of Asians and that they're smarter and that, like, we get better test scores and things like that. So then there's that whole thing of like SAT scores too, where
and the curves,
there are curves. Yeah. And I think it's still there.
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you're white, I don't think you get curved at all. If you're black, because of the general mean
like
test scores,
50 or something.
Yeah, they curve it upwards, whereas Asians get curved downwards. Because of the over time, in quote unquote, the mean scores and all these things. But when you look at that in just terms of the black community, and what I think, this is my impression of it, is that, I mean, when you talk about resources and what the black community was able to get and is able to get or rather not able to get, right? So education, of course, is not the best, because like that's the way it's been set up, and it's never been changed because of like money and taxes and all these things, and that's at least the claim, but it easily could be changed, I think.
Yeah. And also, I mean, another thing that you mentioned when you mentioned taxes, people don't understand. It's funny because I hear so many discussions about these topics and education and inequality, and you have so many people that are uneducated and I'm not even saying I'm fully educated on this, but at least educate yourself to a certain degree if you're going to speak about a topic like this. Right? Because when people want to talk about, oh, well, black people can do it, you could pick up by your bootstraps. They want to compare Montgomery County to Baltimore City, right? Which is just absurd. Okay, look at the property taxes. You want to talk about public school, right? Public education, which is funded by both governments and also tax-paying citizens. Okay, what are the property taxes in Baltimore City? 212, 21224, 21223. You can look at all these different zip codes. What are the property taxes? What? Per property, you're paying about $500 a year. And then go look up property taxes in Montgomery County. You're talking about $10,000, $12,000 per household. You don't think that affects public school at all? From $500 to $12,000, $200, $150 to $15K in certain areas, and that's per household.
Yeah.
Of course, public schools are different. Of course, the education is different. If you ship out a lot of the kids in Montgomery County and place them in Dunbar High School, I'm telling you, it's a totally different world to them. It's foreign language. I mean, so I think people need to understand that the discrepancies are massive. It's not, it's not just. That's why I think we get so offended when you ask the black people to come help you guys, because it's like, no offense, bro. Ask the whites. Ask another, ask a group that has more than we do. In my opinion, I feel like I'm not saying we can't share our efforts and, helping everybody else. I think we should always look that way and help whoever we can. However, we still
have issues.
Have and it's not even just issues. It's a ton. It's like a ton that we have unresolved. So of all people to go to, we done marched a ton. We done protested.
Yeah.
We still don't have justice.
It definitely seems like, a white person sending out a newsletter saying, listen, it's not really my fault, but what can you all do? And then it's like, well, one, it is your fault. Two, what are white people doing? Right. And like, besides social media,
that's the other thing.
What else is happening?
Social media activism is very different from actually going out and doing that. Like, you can post so many, aesthetic, like stories and stuff, but if you're not actually doing anything, don't then look at other people and say, well, like, what's going on? And I'm not talking about, like, you can be there's ways to be active on social media and help stuff. Like
awareness is good.
Holding conversations and being aware and everything, but just posting something that says stop Asian hate. What does that do? Really? Cool. You're 700, 1,700 followers. Saw that. Okay.
Yeah.
How is that fixing the issue by just saying, stop Asian hate, or like, like putting a link to a post that's all cute and everything? It's like, you're not addressing the reality of the situation. You just reading this is not going to change anything, because at the end of the day, you're not attacking the root of the issue, which is white supremacy.
Now, I will say, I think that, like I said, I think awareness is good. And what we're talking about isn't like posting the article with the information in it.
Yeah.
That's I'd say that's different. But just saying, like, this is crazy, it needs to stop.
Right.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, I think, I'd say to an extent, like, posting the article is definitely, it has value there. But again, it's still not, I mean, for me, right? And this is being a Black person and seeing a similar fight happen. And it's interesting, the timing of everything, because around the same time that the George Floyd stuff was happening last year, this is now a massive issue.
Yeah.
Yep. It's cyclical, man. It's cyclical.
But my thing was like, how is this helping me? Seeing, and I was like, I appreciate that you're doing something, but how much of this is actually, going to help me? How is this going to stop police from killing me, shooting me? How is it going to keep me safe when I'm going on runs in my own neighborhood from people who don't like the color of my skin?
Yeah.
If you post something, but then say you don't go to a protest, all right, I can go into a protest and actually, being there to protest, not to take pictures. But going to a protest, that actually does something. You're part of something. You're putting yourself out there. It takes more effort to go out to a protest than to repost something on your story that's going to disappear in 24 hours anyways, right? Even just stuff is like, hey, check out the link in my bio. This is a way that you can actively help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Even just something as simple as say, hey, I have a really close to Asian friend or X group or person, because this applies to everything, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And saying, hey, how are you doing? What can I do to help you? In a way that's not overbearing, of course, but like just being like, hey, like, are you doing all right? Like, do you want to talk about it? If not, like, how can I help you? Is your family doing all right?
Right.
Doing stuff that's tangible, that at the very least, even if it's just like, hey, I have one Asian friend, right? Let's just say I have one Asian friend. Let's say his name's Tim or something.
Right.
And I'm like, hey man, how are you doing? Like, like, how's your dad? How's your grandfather? How are they dealing with this? Like, do you need any help? What can I do to make this easier for you? Or maybe the opposite, or maybe just not want to talk about it. You just want to talk about something else. Like, yeah, sure, let's do that. Something that's tangible. Even if it's just that one person, you've done more than posting, something on your story that's going to disappear in 24 hours. So that's going to stick with that person. That's going to show them that, hey, you care. Because I think a lot of the time the problem with this social media activism is that a lot of it's just for self-image, right?
That's it, bro. That's it.
It's like, yeah, like, sure, I can. That's why I haven't posted anything on store, because like that's not the way that that's going to help anybody. That's not going to help
I
anybody.
I never even post on my story anymore. I just dropped it. I think
yeah.
I did it in the beginning, and then after I was just like, you know what?
Yeah.
It truly, it's not beneficial. Nobody's getting anything from this.
Because like, what's going to happen? Like, I only have like 400 followers. Okay, cool. And they're all people that I know. So, and most of them think the same way that I do. So this isn't going to change anything. They've probably seen the same infographic 5-10 times. So like, what has it actually done? You know.
Yeah.
And if they think I'm a piece of shit for not posting anything, that's honestly their fault. It's like I'm doing what I need to do.
They have their priorities messed up because that's not what it's not. I'm not doing this for self-image. I want to do this because I want to help the situation.
Yeah, that's
you know how many people post that type of stuff because their friends posted it.
Yeah,
they just see that their best friend posted it, and I mean, I know a situation like this. Like Amani, you know, has had a situation like this with someone she knows. You know, where literally it was posted solely off the fact because you saw somebody else post it.
Yeah.
No genuine nothing. You didn't truly feel like you had to post it. You didn't feel, you know, because I'm not bashing posting. I'm not bashing it. Personally, I think it's useless. I'm not bashing it, but I'm just saying when you do it because you just saw a friend do it, and when it comes to black or brown or Asian lives that you're playing around with now that are literally being lost, and you're doing this because it's trendy.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
it's one thing.
Just
yeah,
like,
it's one thing if you see it and then you like actually like do your research and then you learn something and you're like, oh my god, like let me do this. That's one thing. Absolutely, like that's important because if you're educating yourself, that's one thing. But just saying, here I'm going to post this, it'll be gone in 24 hours, but at least I can say I posted it. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything. It's just it's like I just want to make sure I don't get called out. That was like the black square thing back last summer.
Yeah.
Where it was like
I had a hard time with that kind of thing. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no problem.
I had a hard time figuring out if I really wanted to do that, and I did do it. And the reason why I did it is like that's the first time that I've ever really been compelled to do something like that. Because at least from when I did that, like it was an understanding of like this is like I need to say something. You know, I need to say something.
Solidarity. Solidarity.
I mean, but it's like, you know, I could have also easily, and I did reach out to you guys, like we all talked about it because we were hanging out, but not really as much. So I think that was a time when we were all kind of away from each other. Yeah. So it was like, man, I really want, like, I want to say something about this because this is so important. Like all of the things that I do are influenced by, you know, by the Black community and are originated in, you know, and so it's that kind of thing where it's like, listen, this is so important and it's
more responsibility.
Yeah.
But I think the difference there is that you reached out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With the Blacks. Because like
you touch base with Black people.
But a lot of I think the problem that I had with that whole thing was that I would see people who hadn't said anything were silent.
Yeah.
You know, that, you know, it was a Blackout like Tuesday or something was what it was called or whatever. That came around and then, you know, all of a sudden everybody posted Black Square and it's like, and then they were never heard from again.
And then nothing.
Yeah. You know, it was like didn't say anything, didn't reach out, you know, didn't do anything. It was just kind of like it was a litmus test to see. I want to make sure that I'm not called out for not doing anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, at the end of the day, what does a Black Square do if you haven't done anything else?
Yeah.
Like
nothing.
And like that's the thing. And like, and there are also people who were bold enough to be like, oh, well, Blue Out Tuesday, which was like support of cops. I saw that a few times, but that's a story for another episode.
That's the
No.
We're gonna get into a rabbit hole. We're gonna keep on this.
I feel you. Well, listen, let's touch base on Mr. Robert Aaron Long, man.
Yeah.
Mr. Robert Aaron Long, RAL Robert Aaron Long. I believe 21, 22,
21, I
early
think.
20s.
It's 21.
Pretty much our age, your age, Miles. You know, we're coming up on that. Walked into 2 different spas, murdered, I think it was about 8 people, just ruthlessly killed them.
6 of which were Asian women.
6 were Asian women. I think there was 1 Arab man, I believe, that was in there. I mean, initially, when you guys heard it, right? Because we're not new to this. We've heard about terrorist attacks, right? Colorado was shortly after. We'll talk about that in another episode. I'm not gonna ask what you guys felt But initially, I guess, what was the first response? This is a good one. What was the response that you guys had when you saw the first article? What was the first article you saw about it? Because the first article I saw about it lit me up.
Yeah, I think
the first article was Robert Aaron Long, recovering sex addict.
Yeah.
Has a something. It was said had like an outrage and murdered 8 people.
Yeah,
but it's that description.
It's like
Robert Aaron Long, recovering sex addict.
Yeah, not a murderer, not
racist.
You know.
Wow.
And I think that was a similar thing with me, where the first article that I saw, one, it didn't show his picture, so that's how I was like, this is a white man.
Yep, yeah, mine didn't show the picture.
And I knew every time, because at first I heard Atlanta, I was like, oh man, because it's Atlanta, so niggas 24/7, like that's what it is. So I was like, oh no, but then
that's
I saw
the motto.
Yeah. But then I
sorry.
Then I read the article, and there was no picture of the perpetrator, and I was like, this is a white man who did this. Yeah. And I think that at first was like, okay, that happens. I think that what gave me outrage was the press conference with the police station afterwards, where the officer said, well, he had a bad day and he killed 8 people. And it was like, had a bad day. Like, what about the families of the 8 people you just murdered? Like,
because you had a bad day.
Like, yeah, their day was.
Oh man!
But it was just like, had it like, and I think it's one of those things that kind of like, it's cyclical. Like every time that somebody white does something awful, it's like mental illness or had a bad day. He was such a quiet kid, like so it's never. But when we're victims of stuff, it's like a criminal past.
Counterfeit $20 bill.
She ran a stoplight one time, and it's like, okay.
She was being disobedient to the police.
Yeah.
Sandra Bland.
So it's one of those things where it's like, but now have you not only just done that, you've done that to justify a murder. Yeah. Like a mass
multiple
murder.
Mass murder.
Murder. And that here's the thing, like people were like, oh, we don't know if it's related to anti-Asian hate. And I was like,
you go into an Asian community.
6 of his 8 victims were Asian women.
Spas, which are generally Asian majority.
Of course,
He went past white-owned spas.
Yeah, to get to Asian
20
spas.
miles to get to Asian spas.
Yeah.
So like, it's pretty obviously like, like, I don't know. He killed 6 Asian women. 6 of his 8 victims were Asian women, and the other 2 were patrons in Asian spas. He traveled 20 miles past other spas to get specifically to these Asian ones. But I don't know what his motive was. Like,
it wasn't Asian hate. Couldn't have been.
And if it really, I bet that the sexual addiction thing was true, but I think it was very much based in racism. In that,
oh yeah, that too.
I mean,
yeah,
I think that he, from the sound of it, and from a lot of popular culture now, he was probably really into Asian women and hated that. And there you go. So there's the kind of thing right now is there's a really high demand in society for Asian women, which is really interesting. Asian men are near the bottom. It's I was talking about this with my dad, and I looked up the article earlier today to find something about it. And so it's the stats in Tinder for how many women rated men and then men rated women, or the swiping and all that. So white men are at the very top of the list of like most swiped. So that's like the highest demand. So white men are at the top. And then at the very bottom are black men and then Asian men. And that's at the bottom. And then Asian women are at the very top and black women are at the bottom. It's like something that we talked about a couple episodes ago, how, black women are seen as the lowest, and it's true.
They always have been,
based on this. It's true. Fair? No, but that's what it is. And so, and Asian women are at the top. And I think when you look at society and all of the trends, and it's unfortunate that I have to say that this is a trend, but like being an Asian woman is like popular now, and imitating that. So when you look at like e-girls, it's very much based in like
Yeah.
looking like a cute anime like Asian girl, and even more in recent years. I think it's been like that a little bit. Like it started to kind of build up, but especially in recent years, like I'd say the last 5 years, it's been really big to do that. And I think that definitely contributes to it. And then, of course, you have what we've talked about before with like with China and how coronavirus and obviously like Trump's and a lot of the Republican Party, but especially Trump's reaction towards it, and the not victimization, but kind of making out China to be this evil thing.
The vilification.
Vilification. Thank you. Vilification of China and the Asian Americans kind of in general that come from that, because we've seen before, and you can say, oh man, what, it's just, it's China that did that, that's barring Korea and Japan. When you look at Asian slurs, Chinaman is one of the like biggest ones, and that's
of course
it's first, like, and it like
just lazy first
lazy
off.
But also like it's because people can't tell the difference, which is also like a problem.
Yeah,
he called it the China virus.
Yeah, and like Kung Flu and all that shit.
Yeah,
and
Kung
it's like
Flu.
And it's this kind of thing where it's like, sure, it's like, there's a thing in it where it's like this comedy, right? And it's like that would be kind of funny if it wasn't vilifying. And really just jumping on it and saying like, oh no, they did this, like there's an insinuation that they do it on purpose and all this stuff. And so there's this whole thing of like, now it's like, well, even if I like Asian women, it's like something's wrong with me, because they're the enemy. And that's like a internal thing. I don't think that anyone's really saying that out loud, but I think that's in the case of Robert Long. I think that's what it is.
People don't realize also, man, it's like the stuff with Trump and what he was saying, and not only Trump, because it wasn't just Trump that was on that boat, right? It was McConnell, it was Lindsey Graham, and of course they jumped off ship once he lost the election. They took that moment to say, you know what, Trump, I think we're done with you, right? Because you already lost. We were riding with you. Trust me, if Trump would have won, Mitch McConnell would have still been pushing that same boat. He would not have jumped off. But you don't realize with the Robert Aaron Longs and the guy that just did, the Colorado shooting. I don't know much about him, but I know the Robert Aaron Longs and all these other people that went out and attacked him. Like the Columbine guys, right? The Dylan, the Eric Harris, those guys, they were in a situation where they could have possibly exploded at any moment. You gave them a stimulus, which was Doom, the video game when it first came out, which was basically like how they mapped out how they were going to attack that school. Which was, when you hear about the plans behind it, it was crazy, right? Same to this guy. Robert Aaron Long was a ticking time bomb waiting to go off, whether it was a sex addiction, whether it was whatever. He was waiting to go off. And what do you have? The stimulus. Trump comes in and says, oh, yeah, China virus, Chinese, this, that, China. Just keeps pushing it up. So what do you think is going to happen to the ticking time bomb? He's going to explode, which he did. So when you have a president that was sitting there advocating for this against a country, and honestly, Asia as a whole, it wasn't just China. I feel like China was just one, that was one part of it. And people always looked at coronavirus. That was the first country, the first place they went to, but it wasn't just China. You got people from South Korea that are hurt by this. You got people from Taiwan that are hurt by this. Yep. North Koreans are hurt by this. Everyone's hurt by this. It's not just Chinese people.
That's the problem, is because our understanding, unfortunately, because Americans' understanding of Asia is like, it's very reductive, and like we have troubles where the whole thing like, well, they all look the same. As which one? Mm-hmm. No, actually, if you actually look into it. But it kind of lumps everybody together. So when somebody's like, oh, Chinese people are doing this, they are just like, I don't know what the difference is. So anybody who looks like what I perceive somebody who's Chinese to be, which is just kind of vaguely East Asian, right?
Yeah.
It's it rears its head like this, where you have people unrelated to that whole thing being attacked. Nobody should be attacked, but like,
no.
Like you have people that are just like, you know, like people that are like Japanese or Korean getting attacked, and it's like I'm not even part of that. Like, what do you?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because people don't take the time to even identify you as a person, you know, and black people can relate to that. Like, it's not just, you know, like I can't tell you how many times people literally act as if I don't even exist off the sole fact that I'm black, you know. So when you have, I can't imagine if you had to compare me to another group of people that are in my same, not ethnicity, but they are also Asian. And you have the task of differentiating us.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost impossible. They can't even differentiate black folk. What makes you think they're really going to be able to tell the difference between a Japanese man and an Asian man? I mean, a Chinese man or a South Korean and a Vietnamese guy. They're not even going to they're not even going to take the time to do that. Yeah. They're not, you know, and I don't know, man. And it's crazy because I think all of this is happening at such a, I mean, at UMBC at least, there's a huge Asian community. Huge. I mean, we're talking like in all of my nursing classes, when I was in microbiome, when I was in anatomy, I mean, literally, if the class had let's say the class had 95 to 100 people in it, there were at least 40 Asian people.
Yeah, 40 I think that actually, I'm pretty sure UMBC, we have more Asian people than we have white people.
Yeah.
Yes. Like,
you know, you go in the comments.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. And when we saw that, and I mean, when I noticed that, you know, and now to see this happening, it's like, this is it's crazy because this is creating in Asian people, I feel like, with George Floyd and, you know, everything else that happened, like Breonna Taylor and everything else that happened. This is kind of creating the same attitude in Asians that it did in us, you know, where it's like for the next couple of months, because I've seen, you know, of course, I live my life. So, of course, I'm going to see Asians all over the place. But you just see the way that they move is different.
Yeah.
You know, there's a certain, I've seen the looks, like looking around, making sure that they got their kids close. And it's so, it pains me because I'm like, with black people, I think we knew that we were a target. It hurts, but we always knew. And I think Asian people, Asian violence has never stopped. I think it's just, it went down and went down. It's always been a thing
since they've been here.
Yeah,
exactly. Right. But I don't think now, and this is in current times, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know we were lynched in the KKK and all of that. That's back in the 1900s. But we haven't necessarily, black people in particular haven't necessarily, besides, okay, Dylan Roof, that was the most recent case. But I was trying to say, like, I don't think that we've had situations recently so much where we've gotten shot up. Like, besides the Dylan Roof thing, where there was like an intentional
by like
mass shooting of black people.
When it's like the intention is to kill black people, it doesn't happen as often as it did, like, say, back in, like, you know, the 1900s or the 1800s, where it's like the sole purpose is and not
kill black people.
And also it hasn't, because it's been happening by the police. But that's a different thing. It's not like, oh, you know, here's some not even necessarily lone wolf, but here's some just random guy off the street who just really doesn't like black people and decides
it's gonna start shooting you guys up.
That hasn't happened at the frequency that it used to happen at, because it's condemned now. But I don't think that's definitely something that hasn't been happening to us recently. That unfortunately has been happening to the Asian community. I mean, that's like, I saw a video the other day where it was an older Asian woman. She had to be like late 70s, early 80s. And
I think I saw this.
And the video starts. So basically, this guy just out of nowhere just punches her. White guy punches her out of nowhere, and she's just like dumbfounded. But then she beats him with like a plank or something. Like she gives him what for? Like, and they stretcher him off, and then like she's like talking like, oh my god,
probably gets the
she's like, I just got hit, like I don't know what's going on. I think the story, she doesn't speak very much English, if any at all, and she's like crying, and like the police are like telling her like, yeah, you need to calm down, I'm like, she just got assaulted and she defended herself, and you're stretchering off this guy that let that piece of shit
punch her in the face.
And like stuff like that doesn't happen to us, partially because of our image, and like people tend to like view us as aggressive. I think that's another thing that plays into it. A lot of times people view Asians as quote unquote submissive, So they're more likely to attack them, because it's like, oh, he's not gonna fight back or whatever. But with us, it's more like, I'm gonna stay away from them, unless it's a bunch of me and one of them. Then we'll go in and we'll see. That's like what happened with Ahmaud Arbery. But usually people just don't want to approach us, and we see it in that way where it's like, well, I'm not gonna do anything to him because he's gonna pull out the 9. Don't pull out the 9.
Right. Hey, Daquan.
Hey, Jamal.
Hey, Jamal.
Like, that's unfortunately that's like how we're viewed as aggressive. So they're not. I'm going to show my racism by not messing with you. Yeah. Whereas it's the opposite thing with Asians, where it's like, oh, I see them as, I don't see them. I mean, but it's like, I'm hypothetical,
right?
White.
Yeah.
I don't see. I see them as submissive. So I'm more apt to do something more bold and like physically attack them.
Yeah, and we could thank Hollywood for that, man. Yeah. We could thank Hollywood for a lot of that. Sadly,
that's a good point. Yeah, I think that's actually an incredibly good point. And that's for sure. Yeah, if you think about like one of the first Asian roles, it wasn't even a role made for Asians, but it was a white guy playing an Asian. In a very racist rendition. I don't remember. He was like a landlord or something like that, and just getting stepped on basically, and throwing shit. But and same thing with black roles. I mean, when you think about the original ones, it was always like, they were
white guy
perpetrators,
blackface,
or either that or they were like perpetrators or something like that.
Exactly.
It's always, it's wild that just talking about representation, that like recently, it's only been this year that like Asians have been nominated for best actors and for like Oscars. And
that happened this year.
Yeah. And like best film. So Minari, I think that's the only. Or no.
Minari. Parasite. What about Parasite?
No. Parasite.
No.
Parasite was. I don't think it was best film overall. I think it was something else. But this year there were some new things this year. Before I completely talk out of my ass. There were. I know that
Minari was a big one. Yeah. They got Parasite got best picture.
Yeah, so Parasite was big picture. Sorry, best picture. Sorry. But yeah, there was. It might have been either Steven Yeun or.
It was Steven Yeun. Yeah, I think he just got nominated.
Yeah,
I think he just got nominated
because I think a lot of there have been, maybe not a lot, but I think there have been a couple supporting actors or something like that. But I don't think there's been best actor. But anyway, or maybe it was a win or something like that. But there have been a lot of firsts in the Asian community, and that's wild that has happened. And I mean, I feel like it's this is me trying to remember, but I feel like it's only been recently also that like there have been more black films or black actors that
see, and that's the craziest thing, because I feel like it's Asians definitely, all races deserve to be nominated for something like the Academy Awards. And that's why when you get into the discussion of the arts and exactly how discrimination occurs in those fields, it's disgusting, because it's like, when you look at the grand scheme of things, right? Like, let's just talk about for a quick second, Quentin Tarantino, almost all of his movies at some point have been considered Oscar worthy. I think he's won Oscars and been nominated for plenty, right? That's Quentin. Okay. Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, right? You could just go off the list and granted, they have classic films, right? I love Goodfellas. I love Schindler's List. I love their films.
And I like,
however,
I personally like that Tarantino usually has a diverse cast. In terms of race, I mean, it's generally the same people every time, but I think that is a good thing. But sorry, continue, because it's still him that gets the
shout out to Tarantino, man. The fact that he gave one, Samuel L. Jackson a chance to shine, and two, Pam Grier, he gave her the front row. I'm with it. I love Tarantino.
Jackie Brown is Samuel L. Jackson's favorite one.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But no,
movies are another time.
That's another time. But it's like all of those actors got their due. All of those actors and actresses and directors and producers, they got their flowers. What about the Spike Lees?
Yep.
Spike Lee did not win his first Oscar until the past 3 years.
That's so wild.
That's crazy.
Are you kidding me?
Wild. He said so many movies.
The past 3 years. So you're talking Mo Better Blues, you're talking Malcolm X, Inside Man, Crooklyn. What am I talking? She's Gotta Have It. I mean, dude, that's just a couple. That's 5. He's got at least 6 or 7 more in the 90s alone that were dynamite, right? And then you're talking about the 2000s. So Spike Lee just won his first Oscar. Barry Jenkins, they had to give him that one for Moonlight. They had no choice. And they almost made a mistake with that one, right? And gave it to somebody else. I think it was La La Land.
La La Land.
Yeah, they always gave it to somebody else, some other. And I saw La La Land. It was not all that. Let's just be right. I love Ryan Gosling. It was not all that.
Well,
okay?
I don't need a white man telling me how to do jazz.
Yeah, so here's
how to do
that's,
jazz.
That's the problem. Is I think La La Land as a movie is very good.
It was a good movie,
but I think conceptually there's a lot of problems with it. Also, like diversity. The very beginning, there's that big ass scene with it's so huge, diverse cast of characters. You're like, this is amazing. Then it focuses on the 2 white people the entire time.
Oh yeah, don't forget John Legend. Of course, they had to have John Legend in there.
Yeah.
Talk about some.
That's exactly it.
Oh me.
What's unfortunate is that okay, actually we should talk. I'm gonna write this down because I want to talk about that later.
Yeah, man. My all of you. Love you all. Love you all.
I'll give you
all
of me, and I'll give you all.
You know what?
It's like, what is this, man? I ain't like John Legend since 2007, man.
Let me love
that Bama sound like Juicy Smoulier off Empire.
Juicy.
I can't tell if he's Jesse's extra or if Jesse's his extra.
I'll pay y'all $15,000 to beat the shit out of me. Come.
That Bama got on NBC today. He said, so what happened to you? He said, they put a noose around my neck. They called me the N-word. I was like, Juicy, I know you're lying. I could tell that brother was lying in the interview. Tim, what were you saying? I'm sorry. I think I cut you off.
I don't even know.
Juicy Smoulier. That's the episode, boys. Back it up.
That's a wrap. Juicy, man. But no, it's serious. Like, I'm so glad to see that Asians are getting a lot more shine in the movie department, man. And I mean music too. I feel like music is bad, man. Nas just won his first Grammy. His first
crazy
Grammy. Like that.
Oh, we know why that is.
Yeah, we know why that is, right? But this is a guy that has arguably the greatest rap album of all time, and he just won his first Grammy. You know, and granted, of course, people are gonna be like, well, black people have Grammys. Yeah, I get it. But you got to also realize it's not just, you know, it's like those people that argue like, oh yeah, I know a black guy that works at Wells Fargo, or I know a black guy that works at Coldwell Banker. It's like, yeah, you know a black guy that works there, but that doesn't mean that we have a good amount of black people that work there.
Also, with
right?
the Grammys,
one black guy.
We should definitely have more, considering that like all of American music is like derivative from us. Like all of it, like full stop. Like if you look at the history of like American music, it's derivative of us as a people. So like you would think that, hey, maybe we should have a few more Grammys that aren't just in the urban category, or they aren't like, you know what I'm saying? But that's again, other conversation.
You know, so I want to say something that kind of maybe ties it back. There's this whole thing about music. We're talking music history right now. Like I'm doing my thing on exoticism in the 19th century, and Orientalism actually. And so there's a fascination with Asian music and also like Middle Eastern. So that's, you know, Middle East, Asia, and all that. But there's I say fascination, and when you say exoticism, like, and there's a lot of categorizing of exotic, which is this is this totally different thing. It's like not even like, you know, it's not normal, it's not like barely even human, right? You know,
right?
Maybe not necessarily to that extreme, but it's, you know, when you say exoticism, it's really racism, which is something our professor brought up, and I agree with it completely, and I never even thought about it that way, but it's very true. And like there's in a lot of places you'll see like exotic this, and this is exotic, and like this music is exotic, like Asian music, this is exotic, like traditional Asian music. But that's just culture, like and just because it doesn't fall in line with
what you're used
Western
to.
European Christian society, that's the difference. And
hey
I
guys,
think,
what are these egg rolls? These are egg rolls?
yeah.
You said these are egg rolls? Okay. Do I just bite? Oh my gosh. Oh, they're so good. Can I have another of the what is that? Wonton su? Just insult them.
Well,
like
that's
to their face.
yeah,
Just
and that's also another thing too. Is I mean, well, okay, that's I think Americanized food is like is okay, right? But it's also like you can't go out and get like Chinese takeout and be like, this is straight up authentic, like like this is what I would be eating if I went to like a Chinese person's house. That's I mean, rice
Shanghai.
sure.
This is what we eating.
Yeah. There's actually, I mean, the same thing. There's also like, I think this is really interesting that we've noticed it in our family. There's so the rice that's generally used with Asian cooking. I feel like we got to have a food podcast now too.
Oh, most
like our food episode. But there's, obviously I grew up with like a lot of Korean cooking, and so I lived with my grandma when I was really really little. So, So the rice that's used in a lot of Asian cooking is short grain rice, so it's sticky. So it's like sticky rice, and then you have jasmine rice, which is like it's the longer grade. And that's generally used in more like just other stuff. So I mean, it's used in black cooking and in like just southern cook. Really, it's just southern cooking, But anything like that an American would use, like with rice or something like that, like I don't know, chicken makshu or red beans and rice, something like that. So that's like jasmine dirty rice. Yeah. But like you have the short grain rice or and so it's like the sticky rice. And takeout, like Chinese takeout, if they see that so you can ask for that, but like generally if they're white, they usually give you like the jasmine rice. That's what we've noticed with us because we all look white, so like they'll give us and we always get it, and we're like, damn, we should ask for the sticky rice. But I think that's interesting, and just that, I mean, it's not kind of unrelated, but it's just like oh, they're not gonna like our rice. We're gonna have to give them the other one. Like I think that's kind of interesting. That
I think a lot of that has to do with also knowing where you are. I think that's what a lot of the Asian community did. Once a lot of people, when they opened up the carryouts and stuff like that, like if you're in these black neighborhoods, they kind of just went based off, I think, what a lot of black people were eating. So they were like, look, man, what are these guys like? Fried chicken, bang. We got that. What is crab rangoon, which is basically just fried, bang. Just a lot of fried stuff, a lot of fried foods. And it's on every corner, and that's what black people eat. Like that's traditionally what black people have eaten, which kind of sucks, but we'll talk about that another day.
Oh, I'll tell you, man, Japanese. So this is Japanese, not Chinese, but Japanese, something that's really underrated that people don't get often. You can get them at like any sushi place also, is tonkatsu. And that's like, it's just like fried chicken.
Yeah. Oh, tonkatsu.
Yeah. It's delicious.
Wait, Miles, you said yes. You said yes. You've had that before?
Oh, yes.
It is excellent.
Oh, yes.
Miles had tonkatsu.
Yeah. So it's not seasoned like, like fried chicken would be from like, Popeyes, but it's, it's much different. It delicious. Anyway, that's for all of you listening right now. Get some tonkatsu. It might just be say like chicken katsu or something like that, but it's just, Yeah.
Okay. Everybody, get you some tonkatsu. If you listen to the podcast, get you some tonkatsu very soon. That's funny, Miles. It's always nice to hear you cultured, man. You are eating these different foods. I didn't know you had
I was born in Japan.
All right, but you wasn't there long enough to register
Yeah,
tonkatsu.
but like I've been around. It's not like I've just never eaten
I'm
stuff.
not saying you've not been around, bro, but you on WBNA, man. I didn't know you. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know you.
It's always nice to hear you're cultured. What does that mean?
No, I understand that. It's like you don't realize that your friends are also like hip to other things, and it's cool when you
Right.
figure
That's
that
nice
out.
to hear. I'm not saying I didn't expect you to be hip to other things. It's just always nice to hear, hey man, you know, that you getting around. You experiencing the different cultures. Okay. Come on, man. Talking about something I was born. He said I was born.
I was born in little secret for you guys. I was born in Japan. Not like anybody who actually knows me has never ever heard that before. Definitely never heard that.
If y'all know Miles, that might be one of the first things that brother brings.
Either
Fun
that
fact,
or
I was
or
born
that
in Japan.
also left-handed. So that's another thing that you definitely know if you know me.
Yep. We all have that. We all have those things that we say all the time.
It's like a script. It's a script that we stick to.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Miles. I was born in Japan, not Japanese. Obviously, that's kind of cool. Left-handed too. So have fun with that.
Anytime a note is wrong, my ear immediately goes to it.
I hate the person that I was before this exact moment.
That's it's my favorite one. It's like I get it. I totally get it. Love the way you said it.
Yes, just goes right to it, man.
Just goes right to the wrong note.
You know, we all have our things, and I think that we all kind of develop and grow as people as time goes on.
It's true.
Sometimes our friends are assholes and they like to bring up stuff.
Hey man,
from way back when I was a different person. Who is that guy? I don't even know. Who's Miles? How do you spell that? Who's that? I don't even.
Hold up.
What am I doing?
I know you're not talking about friends being buttholes, bringing up that stuff. When you just brought up my stomach bug and tried to make fun of me.
You brought up the stomach.
You guys cracking jokes. You two cracking jokes at the beginning of the show.
But that also happened like 2 days ago, not 2 years.
Bro, it's 48 hours.
Okay.
That's still fresh on my mind.
Exactly. So it was fresh on ours too. We were worried about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We don't want you to die on a toilet like Elvis.
You know how much cocaine you got to be able to die on a toilet?
Well, who knew? You could have. Hey,
it's those peanut butter, banana, and bacon sandwiches, man. Fried. That's why he was on the toilet.
Yeah.
He ate one of those.
The dying
did a line, and then
it was coincidental.
I had one of those peanut butter, bacon, banana sandwiches.
Sorry, I'm so sorry, Elvis.
I'm so sorry, Elvis. Yeah, Elvis, if you're listening,
so sorry.
Shout out to Mr. Presley.
No, we don't shout out to that thief.
He did. He
did
thieved.
Yeah, that thief. He can die in a toilet again for all I care. Steal it from black people. Hot take.
Hey, John Wayne.
Well,
I don't know. Now we're gonna get sued by Elvis's estate.
Bring it on, Lisa Marie. Bring it on.
I don't think we have that type of money either, Kendrick.
Don't want to bring it on.
You don't think so?
You don't think so?
Last time I checked the account, I don't think.
Mike ain't dead, ho. Mike ain't dead.
Okay. Well, I think that might actually be worse then.
No, because Mike will be on our side, man. Mike, you'd be surprised, bro. Mike was a Crip.
That's true. No,
Mike really was.
Yeah, no,
he really was. You know where Mike is from?
Yeah.
Gary, Indiana. You know who else is from Gary, Indiana? Freddie Gibbs.
It ain't shit sweet in Gary, Indiana.
Ain't shit sweet in Gary, Indiana, man. Mike was on the set. Mike was on the set. So why you think Joe was beating him the way he was? Joe had to get them kids out of there.
Yeah.
He says, straighten up. We ain't gonna be rolling all night. Don't break that bass string, boy. You know how many rocks I gotta sling to get another bass string.
I love how we don't stay on topic ever. How do we get
I like how this started from me trying to get back.
Yes.
And then
and now
derailed even further.
Michael Jackson and Gary, Indiana, and how Joe Jackson beat the brakes. Honestly, it was probably Mike that was beating him, not even Joe. Like, Joe was probably the fall guy. Mike was the one beating him. Are you serious? You seen some of the looks that Mike gives people? Oh my god, that video with the cameraman. Mike was probably beating him.
I never did nothing to nobody. I've never heard of skin bleaching.
Oh.
I'm
Okay.
proud of my heritage. All right. Sorry.
Mike fired his sound guy mid-song.
Mm.
He said, "Job's gone. Job's gone."
Get the fuck out of my office. Thank you.
Anyways, Asian hate.
Yes.
Asian hate. Why are we talking about Michael Jackson, man?
I don't
God
know.
damn.
That's the charm of our podcast, though. We get
It
moments.
we
like
talk
actually
these.
about anything.
Apparently.
We have
Yeah.
minute-long clips to put on our Instagram page that make us look more interesting.
If y'all couldn't tell that this wasn't scripted by now, I don't know
Yeah.
what the hell y'all
Seriously.
listening to, bro. We do not follow a script, y'all. But anyway, now that we're off of Michael Joe Jackson, Gary, Indiana.
You know, something that I've noticed to get really back on topic. You know, we've only talked about two incidents so far.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But like every time I look it up, I don't know, Asian hate crime, you know, there's like 3 new articles
Yeah.
on 3 different things, you know, and that's so wild. I mean, I just saw one about a guy, like a veteran, probably a Vietnam vet, like attacking an Asian woman, like calling her Asian slurs. And then he's sitting in court trying to say like, I have PTSD. It's like, dude, okay. That's like, that's a real thing, you know? And there's a mistrust that can come from that. Still does not give you absolutely the right, like does not give you the right to do that. It's like, also like Vietnam was so long ago, you could have done that by now. Now you're doing it now that everyone else is doing it.
Right.
Kind of interesting,
Right.
you know, interesting that you would do it now that more people are, you know, and because you think you can get away with it because it's like, oh, I have PTSD. I had a bad day.
Like somebody's gonna go to court and play that song, bro. Just go to court and just play that song. And I bet you the judge in certain places, it was like, you know what, probation.
Yeah.
It's just like, yo,
It's just
it's sick, man.
That it's definitely ridiculous.
The Kung Fu Tea in Colombia, that thing happened. That was the first one I noticed.
That
The
was
Kung
like,
Fu Tea in Colombia was
so
the
close.
first one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the first one I noticed, and I was like, what the hell? Colombia, they bashed the windows in, went inside, and I think they stole the $200 that was in the register. So it's kind of
Oh
like,
shoot, I didn't even see that. Dude, I was like
Kung Fu
just
Tea in
I
Colombia.
wasn't just there. I was there like last year. That's wild.
Yeah.
Or not
Yeah.
last year.
I don't know if
2 years ago.
I don't know if they're still closed. I know it happened about a month and some change ago.
Man.
I want to say, but I mean they bashed all of the windows.
Yeah.
So
I
I
think
don't know how quickly
they're back up and running right now from what I
they should be.
read.
It's just like, man, is boba tea. Like and
Bro.
you
how
know,
are you mad at like
to not see that this is like a societal target, you know. I think that's a very ridiculous thing for people to say, oh, you know, it's just some people are angry, some people like blah blah blah, blah. You know, if that's the minority in that people like, you know, hate. No, it's so many more people now.
Oh yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
Like, what do you guys have against boba tea? What do you guys have against, like, what do you guys have against Asians?
It's just
and
milk
then
tea.
specifically, it's just milk tea, bro. Like, you know, Jesus Christ, man. And I think the reaction to me, the thing that always kind of gets me, and I don't understand why the reaction from both all news outlets, again, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, right? I'm not a Fox News fan. I'm not a CNN fan. So on this podcast, at least from Kendrick, you're not going to hear somebody that's like, oh, CNN's right. No, they're both wrong. In so many ways.
I personally like The Hill. I think The Hill generally gives fact.
I like BBC. BBC World News is very objective.
Yeah. Sometimes you miss stuff because they don't have everything. They kind of
Miles
stuff a little bit later.
Did you just laugh, bro?
I didn't laugh. What?
I don't know.
I'm literally just sitting here. What do you mean? Did I laugh? You just did that to yourself.
Yeah, Kendrick. I think that was you.
Nah, bro. Miles laughed, bro.
You must be hearing stuff. I did not laugh.
Miles is lying, bro.
To
anybody listening to this podcast, if you're not watching the YouTube video, it's in the video. I have the recording.
We'll see.
I'm gonna have the recording, bro. Miles said like this. I said, listen, I like BBC. Miles was like,
I definitely
he did like this.
Whoa.
He did like this. He was like,
nope, that definitely did not happen. Tim, did you see that?
Anyway,
I didn't see it. I was like,
you didn't notice it. I noticed it, bro.
Okay, we'll
it's
see.
All good. It's on the video,
My
and I'm gonna
goodness.
get that moment.
Oh my
Anyway,
goodness.
oh my god.
I
All
really
I'm
think
saying is
I really think that's in your head. That's because
British Broadcasting Company. Okay.
Now,
now I'm laughing.
I think even if there was a small snort, Kendrick, you did not have to point it out.
It could have just been something that just could have just walked past it.
Because I thought it was gonna create a ripple effect. I thought him laugh was gonna make Tim laugh. So I wanted to get ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be caught up like
Well, you pointed it out. Now it's a thing. Now people are gonna be looking and it's gonna be like, did he laugh? Did he not laugh? We're gonna put a poll up in our story.
Put a poll up.
Put a poll up. Did Miles laugh? Watch.
God
so the
damn.
Hill and
Yeah, so the Hill.
The Hill.
BBC News.
Yes. No, they've got real good, accurate information, and it's not opinionated. That's what I need. I don't want opinionated news. And I feel like when you have these attacks against Asians and attacks against Black people, when you look at that in comparison to the attacks against, I guess, let's just say America, right? Any terrorist attacks just in general where white people may lose their lives. It's such a big difference in the coverage, in the aftermath, in the president's reaction, the politician's reaction.
Definitely.
It's night and day.
If it was a Japanese man going in and like shooting up just someplace,
a Cracker Barrel.
Shooting up a Cracker Barrel and shooting up that barrel full of crackers. I'm sorry.
Butter biscuits, butterball biscuits.
But then there'd be war against Japan, People would say they're after us.
What you doing in here, boy?
No. Yeah. Not the Cracker Barrel.
Cracker Barrel does have good food though.
Cracker Barrel does have some good food, man. Until I realized, what's so funny? I've always been the only Black person up in that joint.
Oh yeah.
I think
only been once.
It was when we went that one time with was that one of the concerts?
We all went.
Yep.
Was that for your birthday or something? Was that what that was for?
I think it was. I don't know if it was my birthday.
I think it was for your birthday.
It was a lot of people. It was like me, you, Justin King, Eric, Joey.
Yeah.
Damn, my mom, they paid a big tab that night. I don't know what my mom was thinking. That tab was fat, man. But they paid it.
Weird in there, and it's like, I could see how people could see this is racist. Like,
no, it is. It's
a
Mission
racist, Barbecue.
It's a racist store.
Oh yeah,
Mission Barbecue, great food. Yeah.
The portions are getting smaller though.
The vibe in there, racist. Yeah. You cannot tell me. You can't tell me otherwise.
We were gonna get Mission Barbecue yesterday, and first of all, we get there and we went to the one in Glen Burnie, especially. So it's like, but
Ritchie Highway. This is Ritchie Highway.
Super busy. Yeah. It was super busy. And it was like, man, like we don't want to go in there. If there's anybody I don't trust, it's the patrons at Mission Barbecue in Glen Burnie.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah,
you're a regular, but
We're gonna get sued by Mission Barbecue now. Damn.
Oof. No,
you know what? At this point, the lawsuits. Think about it though. If we blow up, it probably won't be by episode till maybe episode 50, 60. So that means these companies will have to go all the way back to 5.
Yeah. So
to find a lawsuit.
Okay, so I want to say something about being the only person of color in a place. And this also goes for being outside and stuff like that. And just so I mean, I've personally obviously again, I won't pretend that I'm gonna go out and I know that I'm gonna get attacked for the way I look, but just being in a place full of white people, it's like, oh, this is weird. I don't like this. It feels weird. It feels feels dystopian. And so a similar thing, when we're all walking, when we go to DTA, downtown Annapolis. So we're all walking, and I mean, really any group of guys walking is threatening, but you have a group of 2 black guys and 1 white guy, and there's definitely I can feel it that all eyes are on us,
all the time.
And it's really interesting. But it's even if you don't see people looking at you all the time, you feel it. There's this thing, and I don't think it's just paranoia. You feel everybody looking at you.
Of course.
And I think that's especially how like you were saying, how Asians, like there's a different way that they're walking now. I think that's how it feels now, especially for an Asian American.
Yeah. I mean, imagine having to literally, out of fear based on what can happen and has happened to people of
Yeah.
your color, walk around, grab your kid close, be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Like that's how you have to move. You have a child next to you, you've got your husband next to you, you're walking into the store and you've got to look around and make sure, like, okay, today could be my last day on earth because they're going into grocery stores, they're going into nail salons and just killing people.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I think that thought, like with us, I have to worry about driving. And of course, I'm not comparing, it's not apples to apples because it's two totally different situations.
Yeah.
But it's like just the idea of you could lose your life any day just by chance, just by being you, just by living your life. That's just scary.
And this
I
is
feel like
losing your life to another person
exactly
in a crime, not just like
exactly
life, but
this is something heinous. This is just like just mass murder, just just terrible.
Yeah.
You know. And I feel like the Asian community is going through that right now, man. I mean, what are some solutions? Like, what do you think can even be done? I guess to not necessarily because of course we can't solve anything. We can't go out there and stop killings. Like, what the hell? We're not Superman, right? We can't do none of that. But what do you think that we can do? Not as the Black community, but people in general can do to possibly just aid the Asian community and I guess like spread some awareness out there. Like what is some stuff that we could even do? Because I don't know. I mean, when you get into this discussion, like when people ask me what can we do for Black people, for me,
there's a lot.
When it comes to Black people, just listen.
Yeah.
Like to Black people, I just want you, if you don't know anything about Black people, if you don't know anything about what they're going through, call up a Black friend, call up all of the Black homies that you have, and just listen to how they're feeling and listen to what they think about this stuff. No matter how ignorant it is, just listen.
So I think it's a similar thing. Like, listen, like say like, okay, well, what can I do to help? What's the best way? Even if it's not necessarily helping you personally, friend personally, you'd be like, all right, what can I do that's going to make this situation better so that I can at least do my part? Because of course you're only one person, so there's only so much that you can do, right? But like, what is the best way for me to solve this problem? Because I think this problem is a bit different than our issue, because the main part of our problem stems from, I mean, it all stems from white supremacy, but the main part of our problem is the system of police and everything, something that you can lobby to have reformed, right?
Yeah.
Whereas this is more, the police aren't the ones that are killing Asian people. It's these civilians who are going out and decide, I don't like you or whatever. I mean, and part of that is spurred on by what has been happening the last year with, blaming like the, COVID on China, stuff like that. I think that's really what's caused the spike, because it's been boiling over since then. So it's a little bit different than like, oh, I'm going to lobby to have change to the police stations and how they do stuff, because that stuff like that can be dismantled and then rebuilt in a way that is a bit better. However, when you have people, it's more about education at this point, because it's not a system. Well, it is a systemic thing, but it's not like the police. There's an organization that you can go to and say, this is the problem. This is an issue.
Yeah. This was an attitude created.
Yeah. This is an attitude in individual people. It's like one of those things you can't really control as easily. Not saying that dismantling, the system of policing is easy in any aspect, because it's not. But like, this is a bit different because it's passed on by people, like people to their children, to their family members,
generations.
It's a generational thing. And like there is that anti-Blackness that happens everywhere, but that's not our main issue in this country. It's an issue for us, but like it's not the only thing. It's not the biggest thing that we can tackle right now. But for the Asian community, that's more what it is. It's more like these lone wolves, or these people that are just going out, these, like I said, civilians that are going out and doing these things. So it's not as simple as lobby, or protest or get this stuff to change. There's no policy that necessarily changes that.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that there's a few things, and one of them is, like we've been saying, is reach out to people, listen. That's the most important thing. Not just going, hey, I really feel for you. That sucks. How are you feeling?
Yeah.
How
Dude,
has this
George
affected
Floyd.
you?
Did you see George Floyd, dude? Oh,
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. Well,
dude, that was so horrible, right, man? Holy shit.
yeah, not just so horrible, but like how are you doing with all this? I know it's crazy. Like that's a really important thing
Yeah.
that people, it's so hard to, because you want to show that you care about people,
Yeah.
but it often comes from a selfish standpoint, and not like that it's necessarily like a really, really bad thing, but it's just like try and listen, and
Right.
so there's that. I think across the board, we need to be teaching empathy to, to our friends, to our kids, our students, our parents, our, the elders, even, because, a lot of the empathetic qualities that we have in our generation aren't really in the older ones. Not yeah. So, and I think that I think we need to be able to check each other and go off of that. And so with that also, I think that just in a general sense, I think that media media is taking a good step towards change. But I think that could, I think that needs to keep going. And more representation, and not just representation of a stereotypical role, but like people's stories, and doing all of this. And finally, I think the last thing is for oh shoot, I'm sorry, I forgot it. But yeah, I think that really what we need to do for the Asian community is listen, and be empathetic, and as white people, and no, definitely white people, in that we need to take our pride out of it, because so often we can say like, oh well, it's not all white people, sure, but
yeah.
but at the same time, where does this problem come from?
Right.
And where does it stem from? And when you're looking at it, it's like, okay, like, and you're looking at these things like Robert Aaron Long, and you say, oh, it wasn't because he was white, and because all of this. It's like, well, okay, look at things, take your pride out of it. Don't just think, oh, I'm a white person, and like that can offend me because I am white. There's no identity that you need to have in this, that's this is not a part of that, of you. You need to be able to, and me too. And I say you, but it's it relevant for me, and that we all need to separate this and say, we need to stop that kind of hate, and realize where it comes from, and realize what we can do to change this. So
yeah. I'm with you, man. Honestly, I think the best things, like Tim said, like Miles said, listening. And then I think a big thing for everybody else is like stop comparing, man. Stop comparing the grief and what happens to Asians versus what happens to blacks. Like just stop.
It doesn't help.
Stop. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you. And it starts arguments. It's just going to create a bunch of arguments. It's going to get into a bunch of fights, because you're talking from one oppressed person to another oppressed person or group of people, and it's just a waste of time. So if everybody was to just sit down, listen to each other, understand why Asians are so angry right now, understand why whites may not be as angry right now, right? Because there are a lot of whites out there that might not think what's going on is they might like, look, hey, it was one killing, right? It's one set of killings. Or, it's one Kung Fu tea that was broken into. So, talk to those people that are invalidating what's going on right now and say, hey, okay, why do you feel like that? If somebody broke into your grandmama's barbecue shack and then murdered a couple of your relatives, how would you feel? Like a couple of people who are white, how would you feel? And really dig deep into why they feel that way.
Yep.
I mean, I don't want to say luckily, because I definitely don't want anybody that invalidates a mass murder to be in my vicinity. And that's just the truth. I don't want to, I'm not around people like that. So like, I can't really speak from my perspective, if I do run into somebody I'm close with that thinks that, I'll definitely have a conversation with them. You know, I've had about maybe 2 people that I used to be close with or still am somewhat close with that I've had to check. I've had to be like, yo, let's talk because I saw you post something that was a little bit you know, like let's see where you at. You know, but luckily, I mean, I don't have anyone in my circle that's like that. But if you do, and if you're listening to the pod, or if you've seen some articles that you really, you know, have really sparked discussions, talk to the people that are opposite of you, and just don't debate them, don't fight them, just don't even state your view. Get their view. Understand where they're coming from, because then maybe you could see, okay, this is why this person thinks like that. You
That's
know,
what we talked about in episode 2.
Exactly.
Come from a point of why.
Exactly. A point of why. Yep. Not to the ignorance, but a point of why. And I think that's huge. And once you understand that, we can be able to have some more productive conversations, man, and be able to do a lot more with it. I think so. But boys, rabbit hole once again, man. Rabbit hole once again.
We made it back.
We made it back. We circle back to all the people that's listening. We circle back. We did what we had to do.
Hey man, we need tangents sometimes.
You gotta go on it, man. It's a whole week. We normally have hangouts on Fridays. I wasn't there for this hangout. So this is kind of,
as we discussed earlier.
Yes.
As y'all discussed earlier with my stuff. So, you know, I think this is, you know, you just gotta have the tangents, you gotta have the rabbit hole sometimes. But at the end of the day, we covered most of the bases. And we're not gonna cover everything in one podcast. I'm sure we'll touch back. Hopefully we can have a guest on. I think that'll be exciting if we can get somebody from the Asian community on that will be willing to speak with us about this. And
maybe somebody that's like in the room with you.
Yeah. I mean, for sure.
Only if she's comfortable.
Oh yeah, only if she's comfortable.
Yeah, if she's comfortable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, you know, there are options. For sure. Why you gotta put me on blast like that? I could have been in the room by myself.
Yeah, but like anybody on YouTube could probably see that you weren't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, but no, getting somebody on, you know, getting anybody on, you know what I'm saying? I think that'd be good. And just in the future, man, we gonna get some more guests. But I love us just talking. That's the one thing. Like, even if we get guests, that's cool, but I love just us talking.
I feel like next week should just be a tangent. Just do whatever. Just like the whole thing is just like, all right, we're just gonna see where the conversation goes instead of having a like a specific thing to talk about.
Because we've been doing topics. Yeah, let's just do a what should we do? Just say a conversation with the brothers.
A free day.
Conversation. Free day. We're gonna do a free day. Y'all heard it from here.
Man, it might be everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're gonna talk about it. Wow. Okay, so next week just gonna be a free open conversation. Free space. Y'all heard it here from Miles alone, man. But look, as always, brothers, episode 5. It's a wrap. We did it. Turn down, man. Again, thank you guys for the support. Our last video is at like 70 views now, man. Wow. We're getting consistent, bro. Yeah. We're getting consistent views and like listens. Like really every week we're getting at least on Spotify, we're getting at least like 30 some listens. And then on YouTube, we're getting like in the 60s and up, like every week consistently. So shout out to everybody, man. Even if you click on the video and just give us a view, man. Shout out to y'all, because that, I don't know, that means a lot, man. That's crazy.
For sure.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, all right, man. Well, listen, it's your boy Kendrick here with the Turn Down, man. Also, my brothers Tim Edwards, Miles Malone, episode 5.
Yes, sir.
And we're excited to bring you guys more content, brothers. Anything y'all brothers got to say before we head out?
Did you know I was born in Japan?
My grandma's Korean, so
yeah, that is your thing.
Did you know?
Yeah,
that is my thing.
That is your thing.
Yeah, that's why I said we all got things, man. I'm proud. Listen,
left-handed. I'm a rarity.
All right.
Somebody date me.
Well, and on that note, you heard it from here. Miles Malone needs a girlfriend.
Oh,
put it up the lottery.
I'm living in Spain, but the S is silent.
This is episode 5 of the Turn Down.
Love you guys. Thank you for listening.
Love y'all. Thank you for listening. Peace.